You have the ring. And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine. Now let's see how well you handle it.
So, Doc, you've been reading comic books a long time. This is a really weird week. Does it feel eerie to get to a new comic book day with no new comic books?
Yeah, man. It feels really weird. This is like almost like that first time, like when you're in college and you decide you're broke and you decide you're gonna quit reading comics because you don't have the extra cash, and it's the first Wednesday right after that. And so you have that like kind of feeling like, wait, I'm missing something. But then you think about it and go, no, I wasn't going to buy anything anyway. But now I'm missing something. But no new something exists. It's super weird. It's like
we just got through a March with no madness. I think we should have had opening day in baseball right now. It feels like all these wonderful things that people will look forward to, these comforts that we all experience and we all enjoy, together within a community. They're just being ripped away like one by one now.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like this week would be the start of the NHL playoffs, and I haven't watched hockey in like almost a month now because there hasn't been hockey. Basketball would be getting close to their playoffs too, and there's been no basketball, no March Madness, no spring training. I get in the car and I flip on, sports talk radio, and they're sitting there going, well, I guess the only thing we can talk about is like maybe some NFL free agent signings because they can do that over the phone. And then I remember there's literally nothing to do. We're at a new comic book day where the only thing we can even contemplate buying is old comic books.
You're right, man. It's an eerie feeling. It's almost you saw the movie, what is it, 28 Days Later?
Yeah.
When he first wakes up and everything's weird and he finally goes out into Trafalgar Square, where there's always, hundreds, if not thousands of people, and it's completely empty, and he's finally realizing something massive has happened and he doesn't know what it is. Yeah. Kind of what it feels like.
Yeah. I sit there and I look on Twitter and I'm seeing like, breaking news. There's a massive traffic jam on right down coming through the strip in Las Vegas. And it's like a family of ducks walking down the street. Everything feels like we're about 6 weeks away from all we are is some poor landscaping away from being in I Am Legend right now.
Comic books are a part of my daily life now. I read comic books every single day. I read at least one, normally more than that. And Wednesday is always my big day. I always, try and read 3 or 4 of the new comics every Wednesday. So, there's something missing, but I am able to scratch that itch a little bit. Right now I'm reading Batman Dark Victory from Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. I'm also still reading the Rick Remender Agent Venom story arc. That's been really good. I also started Ed Brubaker's Captain America, so I'm kind of keeping myself busy with some classics. But
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I've had, I've talked about it a couple of times. I've had like a short box and a half sitting in my living room that I've been slowly working my way through. But all the new comic book days that come by, it refills what I had already knocked out in the past week or two. So I'm basically 3 or 4 months behind on some books. And some of them are, older back issue stuff, like rereading some ASM stuff, like some mid-2000s Amazing Spider-Man. Or even, after One More Day, when I kept buying it, but just kind of stopped reading it for the most part, I decided to actually start reading a lot of that. And I think I'm up at like a little over issue 600 right now. So I still got another 100 issues to go.
Yeah, I think we're all getting into that read pile, putting a big dent in it. Did you find any gems yet? Anything in there that maybe you weren't looking forward to? You bought it, but you didn't know anything about it. Now you're like, that is a great story, man.
Invincible.
So Robert Kirkman?
I had picked up the first 2 hardcovers a number of years ago. Not like the big oversized ones, just the standard bookshelf ones. And I picked them up and I read them and I liked them enough. But I think I had just never really had the interest to go back and buy more of them. And I think about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I bought maybe the next 4 hardcovers, and they've just sat on a shelf. And I think I'm up through, I've gotten through 2 of them so far in the last couple of, over the last week or so. It's really good. I like it. I mean, I'm just about to start, I think, volume 5, and it's really good.
Yeah, I think Kirkman gets kind of pigeonholed in as some type of like, he's just a horror writer because of the amazing success of The Walking Dead, but he's got some really great stuff in there as far as like genre stuff.
I think it was Jeremy that actually kind of convinced me to go back and reread it, because he was always talking about, between when he's talking about, Hal Jordan.
Titties.
Well, anime titties and Hal Jordan. He will occasionally drop some love for Invincible, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back and finish my reread or my reading of that. I'm going to continue on with that, and so far I've liked it.
Yeah, Jeremy's good for something every once in a while, but it ain't all that often. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm having a good time reading some of these old comics. Obviously I miss having new comics. I would have preferred to maybe be roasting Empire or something like that this week, but that was not to be had. But we had a lot of really bad, news the last, 24, 48 hours. Diamond Comics isn't able to pay their vendors. They obviously don't have a lot of cash available to them at the moment. Marvel and DC both halted their digital distribution, as did Image Comics. How are you feeling about the comic industry? Are you starting to get like nervous? I think we were all nervous, but it's starting to feel pretty bad.
I'm nervous, but I think that in some ways there will be a reconfiguration after this is all said and done. Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of stores. We're going to lose probably Diamond. We're going to lose some of the smaller publishers. But I think a lot of it is going to be, I think we'll come out of it it'll hopefully come out of it as a stronger industry. I know DC's announced their plans they haven't announced what their plan is, but they said that they're exploring a multi-distributor model. That can only be a good thing. Marvel hasn't really made any announcements, and up until last night, they were still planning on releasing everything digitally today, and then they, backed out because everybody else did. You're going to see a lot of the redundancy because, there's a lot of small title books. Yes, there's more books that are out there today than has ever been out there, and the comic industry considers that a victory. But in my opinion, it really hasn't been. You don't need 500 books or 1,000 or 600 books a month for this industry. There's most of those books just plain aren't good enough to exist. You're going to see a lot of them that feel like redundant stories. You're basically telling the same story that somebody else over here is in this other book from this other Z-list publisher, except for it's you and not them. So I don't really care. Whichever one of those 2 books the industry decides, okay, we'll keep making this one and stop making this one. More than likely, the people that were picking up the one, if they weren't already picking up the other, will start doing so.
I do think, there's going to be some streamlining of the industry. Obviously, sounds like DC is actually kind of leading the way. They haven't really been forthright or public about their intentions about it. It sounds like they're actually moving things behind the scene, which is really important. But I do think we're going to see some fat trimming as far as some of the creative talent that have been found to be lacking. Whether or not they're good storytellers is one thing, but that they just don't move units, and they don't really bring value as far as income into the company. They actually end up costing, money that other creators are generating just to put out their books that nobody wants to read.
Yeah, and I think that may end up being kind of a silver lining of this. And I don't really relish anybody losing work. I don't, especially right now. But if you can't put asses in seats, you're not in the right business. The same way that I would tell somebody that, okay, you make, I'm a car guy. I love cars. I love especially custom work on cars. If somebody does great custom work on cars, but just can't get business for whatever reason, sorry, dude, it's not a charity. The industry isn't a charity. If you can't put asses in seats, you shouldn't be in this industry.
So when you look at some of these, artsy fartsy, Oscar bait flicks, you would never see them released by, Universal Studios or 20th Century Fox, not only because they wouldn't warrant the budget, but they wouldn't warrant the distribution, nationwide to go into every theater or, thousands of theaters. But for some reason, the comic book industry, Marvel or DC will have these really like female Furies. No one was ever going to buy that. Of course, people bought the first issue just for collectability reasons, but that book should not have been distributed like it was Batman. It shouldn't even have been offered like that because it was never going to sell like that. And I do think this is going to shake up the industry a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a book that should have been written, if they were going to make it at all, written and sold at your neighborhood bookstore. And honestly, because it's still not even going to really sell at a Barnes and Noble, or, fine, you put it into, you figure out what your target market is for it, and then figure out how to distribute your book to that target market. But
that shouldn't have been released in floppies. It should have been put into a trade and sent off to a bunch of hipster douchebag indie bookstores that neither of us would ever go to, because we wouldn't read that book.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, we're not the target audience for it. We're not the target market, and we don't shop in the places that book should have been sold in. And the thing is, the same people that do shop in the places where it should be sold in don't shop at the comic shop that we shop in.
No, we're different audiences. We want to go to different places. Yeah. I don't want a latte, frappuccino with my dollar bin. I'm just in there for the comics.
Yeah, we don't release art house movies in 3D at the stadium seating at Lowe's. We put it into the 2-theater community art house cinema that's mostly supported by donations from the historical society. That's the place that we put that movie. We don't put it in 4,000 screens across the nation.
I do expect there to be some streamlining, some fat cutting, and hopefully, just an understanding who the market is. When you look at something like New Warriors, I'm actually not opposed to the book ever being published. I'm just opposed to it being published like by Marvel, like it's fucking Spider-Man. It's not. It's for a completely different audience.
Yeah, there's going to be a handful of comic shops.
What's the other one? Gotham City High.
Yeah,
why are there advertisements for that book in Batman?
Yes, because the target audience for Batman and the target audience for that book are not even close to the same.
Like, I have children, but I would never buy them that book because I have good taste in comics.
Well, yeah, I think the problem you're seeing is the marketing people and the sales people. I'm pretty sure they were the D students in their school. Anybody that was a B student and above is working on Madison Avenue, and they're the ones, this is the only gig they could get. Marvel and DC sit there and go, well, we got somebody with a marketing and sales degree. Yeah, you got the D student who sucks at it.
Yeah, it's crazy times, man. I am disappointed there's no new comic books this week. I was actually looking forward to being them on digital. I do read some comics on digital. I don't have a great access to all the back issues like you guys do back in the States, but I guess nobody gets digital this week. Nobody gets the physical comics either, obviously, because of everything that's happening. But hopefully things get turned around. I have heard, within the next little bit, there is actually probably going to be some good news, for comic readers, and hopefully, I'll be talking about that soon.
Yeah. So happy
no comic book day.
Happy no comic book day. You know what though? Look, if you're a comic fan out there that's hunting for something and you don't have anything to read, hit up your local shop, email them, call them, ask them if they will ship you things, ask them if they can do curbside, buy old stuff. Now is a great time to make a deal for one of those old comics on the wall that might have been a little bit out of your price range before when you were buying a bunch of new comics, but now you got a couple extra bucks that you ain't spending on new comics. Now's a good time to buy that, and it supports the store.
Yeah, if there's like an omnibus or maybe a big trade you've been looking at, but you never can quite figure it or fit it into your budget because you got too many new comics. Well, there's no really new comics this week. Go pick that trade up with that graphic novel, and you support your store and get your hands on that comic you wanted to read anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Do anything you can to support your local shops. I mean, look, they're there for you. More than likely, they will happily take the business. They're not getting new comic sales, so old comic book sales it is.
All right, Doc, we're up against the window on time. I really appreciate you coming by the channel and talking No Comic Book Day this week. Feels a little bit weird, but we're reading some back issues, expecting big changes in the comic book industry, and we'll talk about it again soon.
Absolutely. It feels like withdrawal symptom day.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.